Hey guys, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, what I want to discuss with you is how to scale to $100,000 a month consistently wholesaling. Now, a lot of people may not take you behind their business and show you exactly what's needed to do this, but I'm ready to show you guys what I've been working on for the past several months and how I essentially got to this point. It wasn't easy at all by any means, and I had to humble myself in certain aspects of my life, and I had to cut out percentages a lot larger than what I was expecting, because you cannot do this alone, right? So if anybody's saying they scale to $100,000 a month wholesaling or any business by themselves, they are not telling the whole truth. I hate calling somebody a liar. I don't want to go that far, but they probably own the LLC, and they actually own 100% of the LLC, but they probably are outsourcing a lot of stuff to other people and other companies. You can't do this. There's just a point where you can only grow so much doing everything yourself. And that's probably maybe 5 deals. That's a stretch. Maybe 10 deals a month. I mean, if you're just like working yourself like a dog and you're really efficient. However, it just gets to a point where you need to bring other people on to handle other components of the business, because those become full-time jobs in itself, like transactions coordination, dispositions, finding buyers, talking to sellers, handling the marketing, outsourcing the marketing. All those are things that other people need to do full-time if you consistently want to be hitting $100,000 a month and you want to be at the point where you're not stressed out and you're actually turning this into a business. What you're looking at here is an overview of our company's performance. So these are just quick metrics that our team can look at to see essentially how we're performing this month. So we already hit 100,000. Our next goal is to hit 300,000 a month. So we want to hit that by January of 2020. Right now, I'm recording this video in November of 2019. So hopefully by that time, if you're viewing this then, we have hit 300,000 a month. How did we get here? So the first thing, guys, to recognize is that we need other personnel involved, which I just hit on, but I cannot stress this enough. So who are these other people? The first person you need to hire is an acquisitions manager. Pretty much immediately, that was the first person that we hired in our company to take over the day-to-day operations, really all this, basically the engine of the business, all the stuff with talking to the sellers, getting the deals under contract, all that it's done by our acquisitions manager. That in itself is going to take off a load off of you, because imagine talking to sellers and then trying to put the deals together, worrying about the current deals that you have under contract, if those are going to close. We all know, if you've been doing this for a minute, closing attorneys and paralegals could sometimes be very difficult to deal with. Paperwork gets lost. They don't do the title work in time. So many things could come into play. So just having somebody to deal with acquisitions, and then you could focus on that other stuff, that's equally important. You're going to see your business explode, so to say, if you actually make this hire. And you're going to see a lot of things are getting done. Now, you may be able to handle this yourself, and you may say, hey, well, Cece, I'm able to do this. I've been doing this for a long time. Well, ask yourself, have you hit a plateau? Have you asked yourself why you have not been able to get to 100,000 a month? It's because you're not outsourcing, guys. Yeah, your percentage of how much you're making is going to go down, but how much you're making per month dollar-wise is going to go up. So would you much rather have 100% of 20 grand a month? Or would you have 50% of 100 grand? Ask yourself that. So we need to scale. And any legitimate company I know of has an actual department handling different aspects of the company. It's not just like one person doing everything. So we have our acquisitions manager, and the next hire we have is a transactions coordinator. And this person right here, guys, is actually handling everything with the transactions. So from the moment the deal is under contract, they're taking that thing to the finish line. An analogy I like using is a relay. So, the cross country runners in the Olympics or in high school or in college, they actually are running and they're doing a certain part of the run. And then they're handing off the baton to somebody else. They're not required to do all 20 or so laps or, the whole mile themselves. They're doing their part really well, and then they're handing off their baton, and then they're going back to what they do really well. So that's exactly how you should view scaling to 100K a month wholesaling. There are different components doing their particular job, and they're handing off their part of the deal to the other part of the business at that particular time. So the transaction coordinator, this is actually a really important position as well, because my least favorite part of the deal is surprisingly not talking to sellers. I don't mind that as much, but transaction coordination, like just dealing with paralegals, attorneys, all that stuff is just very, it's just very monotonous to me. It's great having a transaction coordinator, just being able to step inside that role and to take the deals from contract to finish. Now, another role we have is the dispositions manager. And essentially what the dispo manager does is they are actually sending the deal to the buyers, and they're communicating with the VIP buyers. So the guys and gals that bought deals from us before, if we have a hot deal, we're going to be calling them first. So it's nurturing those relationships, building those relationships, and also qualifying future buyers. We always want to have new buyers coming in, just like sellers. We do lead generation for buyers. We cold call buyers. We cold text buyers. This is actually a part of the business that we've neglected for a long time. And we neglected it because we were just able to do it ourselves. However, we found ourselves taking a lot less just because this is the last part of the deal. The dispositions is essentially, it's just an overlooked aspect because we're just like, hey, as long as somebody buys the deal and we do right by the seller, that's great. However, it's good nurturing these relationships because you may have some buyers out there that have different investment strategies. Like they may just be landlords, or they may be looking for a few properties just for their family. So they might be able to pay 90% of ARV or 80% instead of having to get it at 70% of ARV minus repairs. So we always want to be on the lookout for buyers that may not necessarily be true fix and flippers, because that's really, those are the buyers that essentially are going to be, shall I say, the most stingy with their money, right? So it's not like we want unsavvy buyers, but we want people that, fit that have a lot of different exit strategies underneath their tool belt. So we want to have a surplus of buyers and not just fix and flippers, if that makes sense. That's essentially what our dispo manager is doing, going out, reaching out to these new buyers, qualifying them, sending them through our process, and making sure that they are on our email list and inside of our Facebook group, because we have a Facebook group for our buyers. So everybody can see our deals and they are all in the loop. Those are the three primary categories we have here. And we outsource this. And I, in particular, like just doing the marketing. So I'm at the point where I just am doing the marketing. So I'm a marketing director. And I don't ever see properties, guys. I don't ever go out to them. Neither does our transaction coordinator, our acquisitions manager, our dispo manager. None of us go out and see properties. We contract all this stuff sight unseen. But right now, I just like handling the marketing. So I really want to focus on one thing right now and sort of just hone in on that and just see what comes out of that and use my skills and my personality type to the best of my abilities, right? I don't want to get burnt out doing things I don't want to do. So when you start, you're going to have to do a lot of things you don't want to do. But, as you mature and close several deals, you're going to be able to go out and just like focus on what you actually like doing. because nobody wants to wake up and just hate what they're doing or grudgingly do things. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to like avoid things you don't want to do, but I mean, if it's day in and day out, you might want to reevaluate what you're doing. So if you feel like you're in a rut right now wholesaling and you're just like not enjoying getting out of bed, because I've been there before, it's probably because you have too much on your plate and you need to outsource, whether that be hiring on other people or bringing on virtual assistants, or you need to look at assuming a different role in your company. Those are all the personnel involved, guys. So that's how we essentially have been able to get up to 100K a month consistently. You know, we have a marketing machine now. How many leads do we need to get there? And I'm going to create other videos on this particular topic because we could go in depth with all the intricacies involved with getting to this point. But roughly, guys, we're at about 900 leads per month. So these are people that say, I want to sell my property, not people we're just marketing to. So we're marketing to probably around, I would say, we're probably hitting 30,000 a month cold calling, like actually dialing 30,000 people, not contacting them, but actually dialing them. And then probably hitting another 100, 200,000 through text messaging a month. So this is essentially how we're able to get these 900 leads. Now, I will say our cold calling leads are colder, no pun intended, than our text messaging leads. So it's taking us about 100 leads in cold calling to get a contract, whereas it's taking about 30 to 40 text messaging leads to get a contract. So I'm going to go over to my marketing dashboard here for my cold calling. And I know there's a lot going on here, guys. And by the way, this is Plecto. This is just a tool we use to visualize all of our data from Podio. So everything from Podio imports in here, and I could create different formulas and stuff and dashboards in order to visualize our data and get a lot of insights in it, because in Podio is just a lot of, I wouldn't say junk. Everything's just everywhere. It's more of like a lead management tool, whereas this is actually a data visualization tool. So I digress, but don't want to get distracted with that. But here are all our leads that came in per market. So we're in 3 markets: Houston, Atlanta, and Charlotte. Charlotte has been a little bit low this month just because we actually have beat up this list. I think we pulled it back in February or March of 2019, and it's now November, and we have just massacred that list. And it wasn't large as is. It was probably around, I want to say maybe like 80K numbers, if that. So we were just hitting that month after month after month. In Atlanta, 510 cold call leads, which is really good. In Houston, we have 398. Now, this is our first month hitting a new Atlanta list, which is why the lead volume is so high. And Houston, this is our 3rd month cold calling it. So about the 4th month, you want to rotate your list, or maybe just pause them for a little bit. So every 4 months, we try to just like pause the campaign and throw in a new list and change our phone numbers and stuff. So that's just with list hygiene. And I could create another video on how to keep your list fresh if you want. If you want to see that, just let me know. But total this month, we're at about 1,000 leads. So 1,000 leads, so 900 to 1,000, and we're at $109,650 in profit this month, which is pretty good. And we'll probably get up to maybe 150. We have about a week and a half left in this month. And so we'll get to 150, probably 160. So consistently, we're doing over 100K. We had a few months going back to the spring of 170, 180K. So we're on the cusp of hitting 200K. So once we get to 200K a month consistently, our goal is 300K consistently. That's where the real fun starts. So this is our cold calling dashboard here. You can see our leads to contract. So it's taking about 100 leads to close to get a contract, right? And it's taking about, with text messaging, a lot less. So this tells us the quality of lead with text messaging is a lot higher, which is why I suggest when people first start to do text messaging, right? So cold calling is great. It's really expensive, guys. But that's sort of like something to look at if you actually have a team involved. Like if you definitely have an acquisitions manager, because a lot of those leads are cold, they're going to need to be worked a little bit, massaged. For text messaging, that's something you can do pretty much yourself or with a VA, and they don't need that much nurturing to get them from, the initial point of contact to contract, right? So they may come in warm already, or you can qualify them a little bit more over text messaging. Whereas with cold calling, we might just have a VA cold call them and they might just grab the information without really being able to pick up on their motivation. So they send that over. So the lot of leads that come over are cold. That doesn't necessarily mean they are bad leads. It just means that they need a little bit more nurturing, and we need more of them to close a contract. So this is the overview, 109,000. We're on our way up. Another thing I want to talk about, guys, and this is super important, and this is something I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and I will harp on this every single chance I get. Guys, that is follow-up attempts. So you may ask yourself, how do I track that? Well, I want to put together another video for you guys with tracking your KPIs, because I know a lot of people won't have access to something like this. But you can track a lot of this manually, right? You could get a VA to go through and just track your KPIs in Podio, or they could just keep track of your progress throughout the day, and they can actually put this stuff on a spreadsheet for you. So I want to put that together for you guys so you can start tracking these things. Guys, the thing nobody at all is talking about, and I call it the X factor, is follow-up. I cannot preach that enough. Imagine, guys, how your business will explode if you actually are following up with the leads as adamantly as if they initially came in. So imagine if you treat the leads that you need to follow up with the same sort of motivation as if a lead initially came in. Because a lot of people, whenever a new lead comes in, they get really excited and they're like, oh man, I'm going to tackle this lead. I'm going to, call this lead. They get excited. They see that the properties maybe has a lot of repairs needed. It's boarded up, whatever. So they get super excited. And I know a lot of people do, and newbies do this. I did this. Everybody's guilty of this. You may even be really advanced in your investment career. Guys, you need to focus on follow-up. I'm telling you, if you're not doing that, you probably aren't doing enough of it if you aren't at 100K this month. And it takes an acquisitions manager, somebody full-time, to be focused on that. So we're able to track all of our follow-up attempts in Podio through our Plecto dashboard. So we have it down to how many follow-ups we need per month, per week actually, to get a contract. And we're at about 75 to 90. I can do the math right here for you guys. So we have 4 contracts this month, or this week, I apologize. So 4 contracts this week and 356 follow-up attempts. So we're at about 89 follow-ups are needed in order to get a contract. Guys, I like breaking things down by numbers and replicating things. This is not guesswork. My business is not guesswork. My business is based on actual numbers. So we can go to our acquisitions manager and we could tell him, hey, Matt, we need 89 follow-ups from you this week to get 1 contract. If we want 10 contracts, we need 890 follow-ups. The reason why this number right here, and this is our projected number. So the stuff in yellow, this orange red color are the actual numbers. The white numbers are actually what we want to hit every week. So we want to hit 75,000 in actual profit every week. We want to assign $90,000 worth of profit because we know a certain percentage of those assigned deals, our buyers are going to come back and negotiate. So just because we assign $75,000 in profit doesn't mean we're going to make it, right? Our actual profit will probably be 75K if we assign 90K. That's why we overshoot this a little bit. We want 105,000 in projected profit, meaning as soon as the contract is signed, so these 4 contracts, our acquisitions manager is thinking, okay, how much can we make on this? And so he's putting that at 45,000 for all 4 of those contracts. And we close 4 deals. So we're at 59,650 for the week. And we have 356 follow-up attempts. 356, right? So earlier this month, or when I did the calculations this quarter, we were at about 75 follow-ups to a contract, which is why the 750 here is here. So by the end of this month, if we get a few more contracts, it'll probably balance out and go down to 70, 75 follow-ups to get a contract. So if we see that he is below this number, like if we only see like 100 follow-ups and 1 contract, we know that he has not followed up enough. That's something that he can control, right? So with that being said, guys, you need to really be honing in on the follow-ups. If you can't tell me off the top of your head how many people you followed up with this week, you don't have a firm grasp on your business. I mean, you'd probably tell me how many contracts you signed. If you're not tracking this stuff, it's probably 0. You could probably tell me how much you made in profit, right? But you probably can't go back and tell me how many follow-ups it's going to take you to close a deal. And so just take these as benchmarks, guys. A lot of people ask me, well, what does it take to get there? Right? So that's one thing that always confused me, because I would always say, well, I don't know where I'm going. I don't have a baseline, right? So use this as a baseline, right? So overshoot these estimates. If you think it's going to take you, 100 follow-ups to get a contract, aim for that. If you're new and you're sort of like figuring out the process, aim for 200 follow-ups to get a contract. So that doesn't mean you're following up with one person 200 times or 10 people 200 times. You probably need to have like at least 100 leads to work, and those are people that initially said yes. So 100 warm to hot leads. I'm not talking about cold leads. I'm talking about 100 warm to hot leads that have said yes, they want to sell at some point, but they just aren't ready yet. You need to be following up with these people. And I could create a whole nother video if you guys want on my follow-up process, what we do, how we follow up with our leads based on what they say on the initial phone call and when they initially come in. But guys, that's really the determining factor with being successful in this business, is following up. It's being consistent. Like, there's no magic bullet, really. It's like, how much can you outlast the next guy and the next gal? If you think you're being too aggressive, you probably aren't being aggressive enough if you're asking yourself that question. Until somebody says, hey, take me off your list, I sold the property, or they're cursing at you, then don't remove them. You should be following up with them. Even if somebody says, take me off your list, don't take them off your list. Just don't, guys. Because what's going to happen in 6 months, somebody else is going to have them on their list. And guess what? They're going to sell. So don't take them off your list. Take it from me. But anyway, guys, that's an overview of how we scale to 100,000 a month consistently. I'll be breaking this down a lot more in future videos. If there's anything else, guys, you want me to make a video on, please let me know. I want to put out a lot more content for you guys and to demystify this whole process of getting to 100K a month, wholesaling consistently. I mean, really turning this into a business, not a hustle. So just let me know, guys, and I hope you have a great day.